Hello, friends. Welcome back to Earth Now with myself, your host, Azara Anna, where once again I will be sharing some interesting stories of Earth Now heroes who are taking action to create a better world. And first, I want to thank once more the people that are contacting me. I am so pleased that some of the stories I've shared already resonates with people from different places in the world. And today I'm actually going to be sharing some stories that came to me from listeners, and particularly listeners from Europe, where there is a big movement of what's called the We the Power movement. This is a kind of an off the grid movement that's really very strong in countries in Europe, such as France, Spain, the Netherlands, the UK, of people who just are tired of the rat race. They don't want to be part of the big corporate energy guzzling corporations that are charging so much money every day, more and more, just for people to have basic needs like fuel, electricity, etc., for their homes and for their lives. So the first movement I want to highlight is called We the Power movement. We the Power movement, just like it sounds, it's not really a political movement. It's we the power, meaning we the people need to control our own power sources. Because if we can't control the power sources in our own homes, then we're always going to be sort of enslaved, as they put it, by the big corporate companies. And most of us feel we have no choice. We have no choice for our internet carrier. We have no choice for our heating our homes, forever, all of our other needs. And that's not good. It's not good to feel like, oh my God, if I don't pay my utility bills, they're going to cut off this, that, or the other. And I know myself, I live here in a place on the East Coast of America where only one company monopolizes, the big, huge monopoly that unless you are beholden to them and you are one of their customers and you pay their outrageous utility bills, you will have no internet, no way of communicating with the outside world. And it's only one company. I don't have a choice of what company. It's this company or nothing. And if I choose nothing, obviously I wouldn't be able to do anything, including this show. So I really love this We the Power movement all over Europe. It started out with just a few people, and now it's growing to 1 million people strong and growing by the day even more. And I'm sure it'll be many, many more millions in the next 5 to 10 years. So here's what these people did. They decided to do a sort of off the grid type of work to better their lives, but not exactly off the grid. Usually when we think of off the grid living, we think, oh, people are sick of the city, so they're going to go to sort of a rural area and then set up a house. A lot of people I know are buying RVs and motor vehicle homes, and they think, okay, I'm just going to get away from having the 9 to 5 routine life where I have to pay for everything, mortgage. I'll just buy a motor homes and find some piece of land somewhere. This is not that kind of movement I'm talking about in Europe. We the Power movement decided that they would literally take control of the energy production in their own hands by learning how to make, for example, their own solar panels, what's called green roofing. They're learning how to make their own solar panels, so they're not then having to go to a big corporation and say, oh, can you provide solar panels for the roofs of my house? No, they're learning and teaching others how to make their own solar panels, their own windmills, their own forms of what's called renewable, sustainable energy. And they're having a big success, as you can imagine. If you live in a home and you can generate your own power source, how much money would you be saving in this kind of sustainable way? And it's much easier, I have to tell you, doing that in Europe than doing that here in America. So in places like England, for example, big education movement of teaching kids, young kids, how to make their own solar panels, etc., so that as they grow up, they will be living in homes where they're going to be making their own solar panels, and then tying the solar panels in the houses in their community that they're providing the solar panels for. They're tying all that together in their own community owned grid. So each house is sharing the solar panel grid and not having to go to an outside corporation for their power. So I love that idea. They also then decided, oh, we need to be more than just one house doing, solar panels. We need maybe to go to the politicians and have them actually put together legislation, what's called clean energy package, so that each community, each city can do its own energy production. And you can imagine how much the big corporations really like that idea and how much lobbying was done to prevent the people from taking control of their own energy sources. However, this movement grew to be so large that there's no way of stopping the people, because obviously politicians are going to be very worried that if they don't give in to some of these demands, people are not going to vote them back in power. And that is really the strength of We the Power movement. It's we the people sort of uniting together in large enough numbers to really make change happen. So I want to salute the We the Power movement all over Europe, growing every day. I think it's a tremendous idea. And I hope, I really hope and pray that that movement spreads here in this country as we here in America see our utility bills surge higher and higher every month. Very inspiring story, to the extent that it's inspiring other people. And one of the people that this story inspired was a lady in the Netherlands, living in Amsterdam along the canals, who sort of, was going to try her own sort of community living. She was tired of living in the concrete streets of Amsterdam. She was tired of living by herself. And she thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I created some kind of sustainable community where, we could all join together and establish sort of our own village where we're sharing energy, we're sharing resources, we're sharing culture, we're just sharing lives to make each one of our own individual lives a little bit better. So this was about 10 years ago. She decided, okay, I want to do this. She looked around her community, see if there were any other interested people, and got a group together, about 10 people who were also very tired of living along the concrete streets. And here's what they decided, which is what's unique and appealing to me about this story. It's not just yet another off-the-grid story where people are living either in a farmland or in a city somewhere. She wanted to create a floating sustainable community, meaning since there's so many canals. If you've ever been to Amsterdam, it's a city surrounded by water, surrounded by canals all over the place. So she wanted to try this idea of maybe taking the unused old houseboats that were sitting unused, as I say, along the canals, and see if they could be transformed into sustainable living places with renewable materials that would generate their own energy, and again, not be beholden to a big corporate utility company. Well, that thought was good, but easier said than done, because as she did her research, she discovered, oh gosh, these old barges, these old houseboats are really not equipped for to be doing what I want to be doing. So she had to start all over again and got together a group of engineers, sustainable living people that had done a lot of research on what materials and what construction to use. And they all decided that they would build their own, a group of about 8 or 10 people, some single, some with families and children. They would start by building their own homes with sustainable materials. Some would be small homes, some would be bigger homes, some would be 1-story, 2-story, or 3 stories. Just, build the sort of home of their dreams, but using only sustainable, renewable materials, where they would be doing green roofing, meaning putting solar panels on the roofs, et cetera, et cetera. So it took a bit of time, but luckily for them, each one of those 10 initial families that formed this community built their house, got it finished. And then, of course, since that house was sitting on land in concrete where they did not want to be, that house, imagine, had to be then transported to the water, to the canals. Okay. I just think of this enormous kind of project and the ingenuity and the innovative quality of it, right? The innovation of it, I should say. All right. So they had to hire big cranes, large cranes, to lift up the houses that they just had constructed, and then they had to go buy or rent big barges along the canal where the big cranes could lift the house and put the houses on the big barges in the water. So imagine this, whole procedure of 10 houses that had to be lifted onto big barges. Here's the beauty of this project. And you think, oh my God, what a crazy idea. How will this ever work? They're floating on the water in big barges, these houses. But they were smart enough, and the word smart figures in here, they were smart enough to, in each house, establish a battery, a smart grid battery, so that once they were on the barges and on the water, the batteries of each house could be connected to each other. So you've had a series of batteries all connected to each other, all generated. That battery was powered by a combination of all the solar panels on the roofs of their houses, and then they were able to generate some other kind of electricity just because they were sitting in water. So literally, this is a floating, sustainable community intertwined where each house is separate and independent. They were not interested in communal living, as it were. That means, people sharing one house. No, they each wanted their own house the way they wanted to have their house, but still be connected in a community, away from the concrete, away from the having to do the 9 to 5, away from all the big bills that would entail living in a concrete space where you've got taxes, the city taxes, state taxes, whatever. Living in water would completely minimize all those kinds of bills, and you would have constant renewable energy in your houses, and you could still be doing your work, because if you're doing remote work, you could still be doing your work in your home. If you're actually going out into the city and working, you could do that easily. Just hop off the barge onto the shore there and just go about your business. So it's a wonderful experiment of people who really had a vision, a unique vision of putting together this kind of just imaginative community that could also inspire other people in the future. And this is what they decided to do. They once they finished, just building this wonderful community where they're all sharing energy, utility, all of this kind of electrical battery power, powering their homes, the internet, and everything. And they're also at times, on the weekends, getting together for communal meals, and it's just, they each one of them, when they were interviewed, they said they knew that it was going to be they thought it was going to be like a real challenge. All of a sudden now you're in these big barges and you're having to deal with these people every day. But instead they found out, well, what a pleasure it was to be living in this kind of floating water village where you were independent but yet connected to the other people around you, so that you never felt like you were alone and isolated. And a lot of these people that chose to build this kind of community felt isolated wherever they were. Even if they were in a family, they still felt isolated. Now that isolation is gone, because they know that no matter what happens, they've got that community around them, to support them, to sort of look out for their children, whatever else they're doing. And so they decided, wow, this has worked so well for us. We're going to make this open source, meaning that they will help any other people, any other like-minded people around the planet that wants to imitate their process. They will help them, get everything together now that they found out what works and doesn't work. This is just a great example that can be followed by anybody that that wants to follow in the future. And once again, not being satisfied with just, having taken care of their own lives, they've decided now to work for environmental causes, to work to clean up the waterways around them. The area where they are, the canals are fairly clean, but around them, it's not so fairly clean. So this community now, is doing yet another wonderful project of cleaning up the waterways around them. Just a wonderful, wonderful project. Can't say good enough things about it. And who knows, one day I might end up in such a community. I don't know. But kudos to these people. The vision is first envisioned by one woman. It took one woman. It didn't take, millions of people. It took one woman with a vision that had the gumption, that had the fortitude to go out and speak to other people, invite them into this idea, and then keep going for years and years until it was all manifested. And that's what visions take. They take action. The power movement that I spoke about earlier, it was action with the activity of the people. This movement, it took people to take action to create a better surrounding around them, so to say. All right, so I hope you got something out of those two stories and you can use it in some way in your life, taking charge of something or other. Okay, guys, here's another of my favorite stories this week that has to do with an older woman named Dorothy. And this is a story about age, or I should say, not letting age and the number of the years that you've been on this planet affect what you really want to do in a common sense way. So Dorothy, at the age of 100, living in Chicago, Illinois, in America, decided that, wow, I really have not gotten to do some of the things I want to do in life. And she looked over what's called a bucket list. This is a list of things that people put together that they want to do before they pass on from this earth to another dimension, hopefully a better dimension. And she decided, oh, here's one thing I haven't done that I really want to do. And she chose skydiving. Skydiving. Now, here's Dorothy, 100 years old, and needing to walk with the help of a walker to get around on the ground, and decided, wow, okay, I need to try, skydiving. Now, I think any one of us at any age might have some qualms about, I don't know, going up in the air, maybe, 10,000 feet up, maybe more than that. I don't know, but that's usually the number of feet that people say they're up there. You can check all that for yourself, guys. See what, if you want to try skydiving, see how many feet you can be up there and do your skydiving adventure. All right. So at 100, having common sense, after all, Dorothy did not get to be 100 by doing crazy things. She knew she had to go take some lessons, which she did. She went to a reputable school. She learned all the lessons and started out very small with, jumps from not too high a place, and then built up to more and more, feet up in the air, so to speak, 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 12,000. And then one day, now she's 104 years old and decided, okay, I'm jumping well. I'm having, a good time here being off the ground. I want to break the existing Guinness World Book of Records as the oldest woman ever to do skydiving, ever to attempt, a sky jump from such and such a height. And I think it was 15,000 feet that they decided would be the right, height to break that world record. And that's exactly what Dorothy did. She was with a group of other jumpers, all of different ages. And one day, they all decided this was a fine day to try that experiment and to perhaps give Dorothy the record that she wanted. So Dorothy, of course, along with the other ones, because they were so high up, had to be, in a harness with a flight instructor, and they all, decided the designated place where they wanted to land. And luckily for all of them, now they're 15,000 feet up. Dorothy decides, instead of waiting for the other jumpers or being in the middle of the jumping people, she decided she'd be the first one to go. Imagine, she's so excited, not at all worried. At 104, she's just going to be the first one out, leaping out of the plane, jumping onto the ground. So luckily, again, everything went well for Dorothy. Beautiful flight, smooth flight. They landed softly on the designated spot, and Dorothy got her wish to break the world record. World Book. Now she's in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest woman ever to attempt to do a successful skydive from that height. of 15,000 feet. Wonderful story. I hope it's an inspiration and a motivation to all the people in this age-obsessed, youth-obsessed country of America, where all the advertisements, are about, how you should keep young, women, particularly women, buying every lotion and potion in the world, and men too. Cosmetic surgery now is escalating at an unbelievable rate for both men and women, trying to stave off the wrinkles. Please don't do that, folks. Please enjoy your life. I know women that worry to death, literally, about every wrinkle in their face. Please take a hint from Dorothy, who wasn't sitting around worrying about the wrinkles or the number of years she was on the planet. She was out there actually enjoying life and doing things. So I don't care what age you are, 60, 70, 80, 90, and above. Please enjoy your life. If there's something new that you can try and you're in any kind of good physical condition, use common sense and go out and enjoy your life, please. All right, great story. Okay, friends, that's all I have for today. And I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I invite feedback from you. If you've got stories to send me, please send them to me. Again, I leave you with the thought that go and be an Earth Now hero. Take action to create a better world wherever you are.